What is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, however you are consuming this podcast. I do appreciate you guys very, very much. Big shout out to today's sponsor, the law office of William Mattar. Hurt in a car, call William Mattar, 444-4444. Call William Mattar today to get the compensation that you deserve. All right, folks. Well, the Buffalo Bills' run of 5 consecutive AFC East division titles has now officially come to a close. The Bills lose 13-12 in a game that certainly turned nail-biter over the last 5 minutes or so. The Bills are going to be on the road for sure now. First round of the playoffs, possibly as low as the 7th seed. That's where they stand right now. We'll get into some scenarios, playoff scenarios a little bit and later on in the show, how things are going to play out and such. I think for the most part, it's pretty cut and dry. Joe from Queens usually does these post-game shows with me live, but he's up here actually in Western New York, traveled there to be with family for Christmas, a little chaotic where he's at, so he's on a break. He will be back next week. Tagging in for him is my very good friend from over at the Buffalo Sports Collective, a vastly underrated podcast. They do such a good job, Bills, Sabres, and especially Buffalo Bandits. My man, PK. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no worries. I'm going to pick back up with the Bandits coverage right after this is over because they got a rare Sunday game going on right now.
Yeah, that's right. And thank you for doing this, and especially doing this when the Bandits are actually playing as we're recording this on Sunday. Look, we got a lot to get into, okay? And let me start by saying this. Hello to everybody filing in the live chat. I've already seen a couple comments before we even got going. If you're listening to this, you don't know what I'm talking about. If you saw the thumbnail, the title of the show literally just says Josh blows it versus Philly, and there's a lot of people who are not happy about that title. So we'll get going right there. I'll put that out there right away. And I'll explain to you why I think Josh Allen did blow this game and why it's okay to be critical of the guy, no matter how great he is, no matter, how important he is to the Buffalo Bills. He's not Superman. He's not without flaw. He's going to have bad games. And this was definitely one of them. We'll talk about that. Let's get right into a couple things. I want to ask you right off the bat, and then we'll kind of, go in and out of a lot of points from this game, PK. Do you, and it's easy to be an armchair quarterback now, but be honest with the people listening to the show. What was your thought process at the time? Josh Allen tush push, 5 seconds left, and the Bills decide to go for 2 and get the victory as opposed to, I'm not going to say kicking the extra point. I'm going to say attempting the extra point to get to overtime. What was your thought process at that moment? Did you agree with Sean McDermott's decision to go for 2 in the win at the end? We'll start there with you.
Well, even at the 4th down, I was hoping that Joe Brady wasn't going to get too cute and actually do the tush push. And I was still contemplating it even after the fact. I was like, is he really going to be too cute here? Because he's been known to do that. But I'm happy they actually did that. I'm happy they went for 2-point conversion. I think it was the right decision, right call. You have to win this game. And the chances, and I know how good the defense was playing all together, but I can't give the ball to Philly in overtime and ask the defense to get another stop. It's asking too much from them. Your offense was rolling there. I love the decision to go for it. It ended up being the right decision. The guy was open and Josh just missed the throw. So to me, I love the call for it. I love that he even went for it, or wanted to go for it, even when Dawson Knox was down short. So he didn't change his mind. He was full go going for 2 there. I like the call. I don't understand why Badgley was even on the team. I think in the end, he doesn't miss that extra point. They're kicking the extra point to win the game.
Yeah.
That's what it really came down to, is another 3 of 4 of the last games he played, he's missed an extra point that has come back to haunt him. I agree with the decision to go for 2, because if you do not win this game, you can't win the AFC. So might as well try to win it right then and there, and don't even give Jalen Hurts and that offense another chance to get the ball back.
Okay. And let me say this too. Am I annoyed that the Bills lost this game? I am. Am I heated like I typically would be heated when the Bills lost this game? I don't know that I am as much. I kind of I'm very conflicted right now because going into this game, I said there's going to be a silver lining if the Bills lose this game. I think there are a couple, and we'll get into it. So maybe that's why I'm not quite as mad. And I'm going to be completely honest with everybody, and this is the God's honest truth. I didn't love the decision to go for it, to go for the win at the end. And obviously, I was proven wrong. It was certainly the right play call. Like, we can shit on Joe Brady for a lot, and we're going to at parts of the show today. But that was the perfect play call. It was dialed up perfectly, and Josh Allen just made a bad throw. That's what it is. Nothing more and nothing less. But my thought process at the time was get the game to overtime. This Bills defense has been incredible, and you're going to have an opportunity no matter what in overtime, no matter what to tie or to win the game. And the way the defense was playing, I did not think Philly was going to score on them. The Bills offense was starting to find life and rhythm. I would have preferred that it got to overtime. That's easy to say in hindsight, and I understand. And again, I would have been proven wrong because the play call was there. The execution simply was not. I got to tell you this. Kicking has been an issue with the Buffalo Bills this season. The Bills have lost 5 times now this season, okay? This is the second time where a missed extra point directly influenced how the game ended up playing out at the end for the Bills. If you go back to that Houston game, the Bills scored a touchdown and Matt Prater missed that extra point. That was costly because at the end of that game, the Bills were chasing a touchdown because they were down 4. So they had to go for it on 4th and 6 from the Houston 24-yard line. There was 22 seconds left in that game. If it's 4th and 6 from the 24 with 22 seconds left and a field goal gets you to overtime with a kicker that you trust in Prater, you're kicking that ball. But because he missed that extra point earlier in the game, they had to try to score they needed the touchdown, and they didn't get it. Ultimately, they lost that game. This one, look, Michael Badgley missed the extra point. He got blocked. And I'll tell you, it wasn't, Jalen Carter's a great player, and it was a good play, but that kick was so low, man. It was just a low kick. I don't think Sean McDermott trusted him to make that extra point. This was back-to-back weeks where he missed an extra point. And if you go back to when he was with Indy, he's missed an extra point in 3 of his last 4 games now. So I understand not trusting the kicker to make it. I'm annoyed, and I'm not just bringing this up now because I talked about it on Twitter throughout the week. I was actually surprised that the Bills didn't replace him after last week because he missed that extra point last week. He was terrible on kickoffs. I know they had a couple kickers in for a trial, but ultimately they didn't sign anybody. I really wish they could have found something better than Michael Badgley. So they paid the price for that. But anyway, we disagree. You said it was the right call. I don't think it was the right call. But however, I was proven wrong because the play was there and the game should have been over. Here's another question for you. And for everybody in the live chat or who's listening to the show, chime in with comments. Why can't this team be good in all three phases of the game, at the same time? It's pretty much never. Like today, this defense was utterly dominant, and I'm going to give them some flowers as the show goes on. But it was the offense they couldn't get out of its own way. That was the offense was the detriment today. This reminded me a lot of the Houston game, and in some ways it was even worse today because the quarterback was just bad. But it's frustrating, isn't it? Like, is this team ever going to put a complete game together where they're really good on offense and defense in the same game?
It really doesn't feel like it, right? Week 18 coming up, and we haven't really seen it very much. There's been a handful of games where you can kind of say that all 3 phases of the game were good, but it was a very frustrating game where it felt a lot like the Houston game where the front or the offensive line were just getting pushed around and bodied, and it didn't. I'm not excusing Josh Allen's play, but he was seeing ghosts a lot this game because of how much pressure he was getting in on him early in the game. When your offensive line is getting manhandled like that so early in the game, I feel like Josh gets in his head and goes, I got to go hero mode. How many times have we seen him get out on 3rd and long? He gets out of it and then just runs backwards, and then he's just not quick enough to get away from the guys. Yeah, it's very frustrating that another game where for 55 minutes you're getting goose eggs on the scoreboard, and then you finally pull it out of the clutches of death there, and they get 12 points. It's not good enough. This was the first game where you're actually able to say the defense bailed them out countless times, and the offense is just going, no, we're good. We don't need to score. what more could the defense have done in this one? It was unbelievable how well they played in that second half. Like, I know we've been known for we've come to know this defense in the second half to make those big adjustments. And so many times this year, they've made those adjustments. Think of Atlanta's game where they stunk holy hell in the first half with Bijan and London. But in the second half, they kept giving the ball back to the offense and saying, go score some freaking points. And they couldn't do it. This game was all about the failures on the offensive side of the ball, hands down, none.
The defense was spectacular. And it's funny because the Bills won. We were eating dinner, right? So we're sitting at the dining room table. We're having dinner literally as the game started. It was my wife, my son, and his girlfriend. And the Bills win the toss, and they defer, and they kick off. I said, well, there you go. The Bills are going to spot them 7-0, and hopefully the offense gets going. Well, they didn't. The defense stopped them on the first drive, and then they stopped them on the second drive. And it was the offense that was, like I said, the detriment in this game. And look, I completely understand that when you criticize Josh Allen, whether it's deserved or not, you're going to get pushback from fans because Josh Allen is the best thing about this football team, and he absolutely is the best thing about this football team, all right? He's a reigning MVP. He deserves to be a top 5 MVP this year finisher because just the fact that this team has won 11 games, with as little help as he's gotten besides James Cook throughout most of this season. He's been special, and I'm not going to say he's not. But I'm going to be objective, and I'm going to be honest, and maybe some people don't like this, but I think Josh Allen was the biggest reason why the Bills lost this game today. I really do. Now, look, we could talk about a lot of the things. None of it would even matter if he hits Khalil Shakir on that 2-point play, and I can't get over it. It might just be one play, but it was the play, PK. It's the end of the football game. 59 minutes and 55 seconds of the game came down to one play. And there's one opportunity. I didn't like the 2-point call because I didn't think anybody was going to get that open. I thought it was going to be Josh Allen having to scramble, and maybe at the last second he makes something magical happen like Josh Allen does, and if they were going to score, that's how they would win the game. That's not the case because they drew up a play where Khalil Shakir started inside, bounced back out. He's open. Josh has some pressure, but certainly enough time to step, plant, and make a good football throw, and the game's over. He missed it. He missed the throw, and they lost the game because he missed the throw on that rep. That's it. The end. And nothing else would have mattered. So for that, that's why I say when Josh Allen blew this game, this specific game, he did. He blew it on that play alone. But it's not even that. There's other things, too, that maybe it doesn't even come down to a 2-point play at the end of the game. He had Brandon Cooks, who had a really good game. We'll talk about him a little bit throughout the show. But Brandon Cooks is open in the end zone late in the third quarter on that 4th down play.
Yeah,
Josh, and you can see it on the replay. Brandon Cooks is wide open. Josh Allen, for whatever reason, I don't know the pressure or whatever, but he doesn't see him. He doesn't throw the ball. He tries to run, and he gets tackled at like the half-yard line. They didn't score a touchdown on that play. If he happens to see Brandon Cooks, bam, that's 7 right there. He also had Brandon Cooks open deep. I mean, he cooked the Philadelphia secondary, and Josh threw the ball outside when he was running inside shoulder. That would have been 6 points right there. So that's points left off the board because of a bad Josh Allen throw. He held the ball for too long a lot during this game. He took some sacks weren't his fault. The offensive line was not great. The Philadelphia defensive line is great. So, I mean, let's give some Philly some credit. It's not like the Bills' offensive line just played like complete shit. But there were points where Josh Allen took some sacks he shouldn't have, and especially that one when he ran around forever. It was 3rd and 8 on that play. If he throws the ball away, they live to fight another day. They kick a field goal, whatever. Maybe they go for it. But he ran back. He lost 20-something yards on the sack because he's trying too hard to make something happen. And they ended up punting. Like, he potentially took points off the board specifically with that play. By the way, Josh Allen's been sacked 40 times now this season, the most he's had in his career. Then there are other times it just felt like the Houston game to me, PK, where he didn't want to take what the defense was giving him. That fumble play, I mean, that was probably the biggest mistake of this whole game in the very first quarter. Again, the defense starts out really good. They forced 2 punts. Josh hits Brandon Cooks 50 yards down the field. Offense feels like it's rolling. James Cook has an 8-yard run at 2nd and 2. And then they have a play action. Jackson Hawes is wide open in the flat. Not going to get you much, but he's open. and Josh does not go there, rolls out, ends up fumbling the ball. Philly gets it, and they scored their only touchdown of the game on that drive. If you don't think Josh Allen blew this game, then explain to me why you don't think he blew this game. To me, he was the biggest reason why the Bills lost this game. I don't know. Maybe you don't agree with me. No, what do you think?
So I wouldn't put him as the leader in the clubhouse for the reason. Even I get the whole picture that if he does make that throw, the Bills win the game, 100%. So if you want to look at it that way, if he makes that throw, since he didn't, yeah, technically he blew the game. But we got to look at the whole game plan. They scored 0 points for the first 55 minutes. I'm putting the leader in the clubhouse for the reason that they lost this game is Joe Brady, hands down. Just look at what they did on 3rd and 9. It was a bubble screen to Johnson, who it was already a loss of 5, and he had a fight to get it back to the line of scrimmage. And then they had to do a hook and ladder just to keep this game alive. Like it came down to a trick play on that one that we've seen. This is the second time we've seen that hook and ladder, and it's a great play, sure. But you got to pull that out of your ass to, just pick up a 4th down in that situation. He ran it on 2nd and 10 to set up that bubble screen. Like the play calling to me and Joe Brady is the biggest culprit to me in this situation because, yeah, Josh Allen missed that throw and he's going to his left. I get that. And if he makes that, you forget about all the other stuff until Monday night when you're going over everything again. But it's the culmination of everything that led up to that play that, I mean, the defense did so much in this game and the offense just couldn't do anything. I'm not absolving Josh Allen of all the blame going around. I mean, that 4th down or the 3rd down one where he gets sacked for a 20-yard loss, the fumble one where he could have just, thrown it away. And he was trying too hard, hands down, no question about it. But how much of that is just he doesn't trust his wide receivers? He doesn't trust his offensive coordinator, the calls that he's making. It's just I'm not trying to take all the blame away from Josh Allen. He's right up there with maybe second in the lead here. But to me, it's Joe Brady, and the some of the play calls were just awful. Like it seemed like the majority of the play calls he was doing were to set up the screen to Khalil Shakir or Johnson in the backfield. It's not good enough. And I'm dreading the day that next year, because Brady won't get a job somewhere else, he's back and we're going to waste another year of Josh Allen with an offensive coordinator that has gotten figured out. To me, I know the second down or the 2-point conversion, it was a great play. He got the guy wide open and Josh missed the throw, but we can't erase everything that led up to it of just pure stupidity from some of the play calls that came down from that booth.
Well, all right. So I don't disagree with you about 95% of what you said about Joe Brady. Okay. And I don't want this to become a hot takey podcast episode. I mean, I'm usually very hot takey, good or bad. But I will say this, where you said you dread the day where he doesn't get another job and he's back. I think the chance of Joe Brady being the offensive coordinator next season is almost 0.
I'm hoping you're right.
I would be very surprised whether he gets another job, whether they mutually part ways, so it's not a firing. But I do not think Joe Brady is going to be back next year. I want to be clear about that. And I agree with you, again, for the most part. Like the Bills, they get the ball to start the second half. They're down 13-0. It's 3rd and 1. But here's the thing, and I'm going to be honest, and maybe somebody would know, but it's 3rd and 1, and they called that outside screen or whatever it was, Shakir, who dropped the ball.
Yep.
Should have caught it. He makes the play. It's a first down, but whatever, that call in the elements, because by the way, I mean, if you watch the game, it was a fucking miserable day outside. The weather was as miserable as the Bills' offense for most of this football game, but you call that play on 3rd and 1, I'm like, wow. And then they punt. That probably pissed me off more than anything this entire game. You call a pass, a screen, bubble, whatever you want to do on 3rd and 1, a quick screen, and then you freaking punt on 4th and 1 when you don't get it. Like, to me, if you call that play, you're saying if he drops it, if I make a bad throw, if it gets batted down at the line, I'm going for it on 4th and 1. They punted. That was dumb. That really pissed me off. That said, here's what I said. Did Josh Allen check out of that? Was that an option where Josh Allen made decision to throw the ball to Shakir instead of, running or handing it? Was that Josh Allen's responsibility? Did Josh Allen switch out of that play? That's why sometimes I'm a little careful, and I'm not a Joe Brady fan, man. Everybody knows that. I am no Joe Brady fan. But sometimes the play call is not what ends up getting run. You know what I'm saying? Like Josh Allen could have checked out of that. That's at least possible. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying it's possible. But you're right. And like I said, that 3rd and long Serene call to Ty Johnson, I mean, Jesus, that was just stupid as hell. There were some good play calls, though. I mean, again, the hook and ladder worked. The 2-point play to win the game, it worked. They schemed open Brandon Cooks down the field multiple times deep. It worked. He caught one. He should have had another touchdown. But again, Josh made a bad throw. Tyrell Shavers went up and got a nice 32-yard catch down the field. So this game, were working the ball down the field better than I expected them against a defense that has 2 Pro Bowlers at corner and, in the secondary. That's a great defense. So I'm frustrated about Joe Brady. I don't think he's going to be back. But I still say Josh Allen is the bigger reason why. Now, look, if they would have played like they did against Cincy or Tampa, where Josh was, for the most part, was lights out, and then it comes down to a play and he just makes a bad throw at the end, I'd be like, oh, it should have never came down to that. Brady could have done a better job. The defense could have made a couple plays, yada, yada, yada. But in this game, Josh Allen made enough mistakes that I just felt like the missed throw to win the game was a culmination of just him having a bad day. Ankle was probably a problem, too. Do you feel like maybe the ankle, he didn't say it after the game, he wouldn't admit it, but maybe that ankle kind of was in his head a little bit? I don't know. He just felt more indecisive. It looked like this isn't the kind of Josh we need before the playoffs. Almost like greedy Josh in a way, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, I 100. He'll never say that the injury is bothering him. That next throw, it was awful. I think it was like at the guy's foot. It definitely it was hampering him this game between the ankle and the foot or whatever injury it was, because he definitely nicked it up again on that one sack. But yeah, he was not himself in this one, and I don't know if it was just the adrenaline was pumping, nothing was working on the offense. But yeah, that foot, to me, I'm not putting it all on the foot. I'm not saying that the injury to his foot ankle was the main culprit in him struggling in this one, or the missed throw or whatever it was. I don't think anybody would ever say that, but I do think it was either in his head or it did play some sort of factor into this. That I see the comment. I see the comment.
Honestly, there's that Greg Presti. I typically, my philosophy is at least be somewhat respectful, or I'm going to run you. And I've been thinking about the last 30 seconds. Am I going to block this guy, or am I going to put up his comment on the board? I might actually do both. But he says, what a stupid podcast. Imagine blaming Josh for this. Well, Greg, why don't you tell me in your expert commentary why you shouldn't blame Josh Allen, why Josh Allen doesn't deserve blame for this? I'll tell you what, you could either do that or, like I said, I will run you. I like people, we talked about this for the show. You want to, incite us with the reaction. I get all that. But when you go over the line a little bit, it starts to get stupid after a while. Anyway, here's what I want to do. I'm going to take a real quick break, PK, come back on the other side. We haven't really talked about this defense, and we're doing that a disservice because this defense was incredible. I want to talk about that a little bit. And like I said, there may be some silver linings, some blessings in disguise that come with this loss. We'll go through the scenarios and we'll get thoughts on how things are going to play out coming up right after this quick break. All right, back with my boy PK from the Buffalo Sports Collective. Today's show, of course, presented by the law office of William Mattar. Her in a car, call William Mattar, 444-4444. Greg just got run off the show. I just blocked my first user. I have not blocked a user on YouTube in probably 6 months, but when you're not trying to be part of the show for any other reason than to just piss people off, I really don't have any use for you. PK, let's talk about this defense. If you want to take away positive things from this game, silver linings, like I said, the defense, this defense, if it plays like it did today in the playoffs, I think the Bills are going to be all right, man. I think they're going to be fine. Jalen Hurts, 0 for 7 in the second half. Saquon Barkley had 8 carries for 17 yards in the second half. Philadelphia had 17 total yards in the second half. This defense was excellent today. on all three levels up front, the linebackers, the secondary. The only touchdown Philadelphia scored all day was on a 45-yard short drive that followed the Josh Allen fumble, which, again, proved to be a big play in this game. I am thrilled with the way this defense played. Some individual great efforts. Deion Walker and TJ Sanders, the two rookie defensive tackles, they had themselves a really nice day, especially Walker, but they both played good. Greg Rizzo was great. Matt Milano continues to look great over the last handful of weeks. And Shaq Thompson was very good because Terrell Bernard got hurt yet again. Don't matter to me at this point anymore with him. They might be better off with him off the field, honestly. But I don't know, man. Your takes on this defense, it was great today.
3 for 13 on third downs was Philly. It's what you got to do with this style of defense. And I've said it for so many times. If you're going to play this style of defense where you're letting these guys get the catches and then tackle right away, you got to get off on third down. And that's exactly what they did. Yeah, there was a couple struggles. I think it was in the first quarter where they let up 2 big third down pickups. I'm like, oh man, it's this all over again. But I really like this. And raise your hand if 4 months ago, you would have been looking at this team going, man, if they're missing Jordan Poyer on this back end, they could be in trouble. And going into this game, I'm going, they didn't have Jordan Poyer. Oh God, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are going to go absolutely apeshit in this one. And it didn't happen. And this defense was phenomenal in the second quarter and on. And I loved, you said it perfectly. If the defense plays like this, they're a Super Bowl contender, like hands down. They can win the whole damn thing. No question about that. Matt Milano, like he's the one that to me that stood out the most. And I know you mentioned the rookies, but Matt Milano in this game, he was playing like a madman. He looked like Pro Bowl second team, all like Matt Milano again. And where the heck has this been? And maybe it's just him finally getting his legs back under him after missing so much time the past few seasons. But to me, he was a big reason. I'm not trying to just single him out. He's not the big reason the only reason that the defense play they did. But I thought Matt Milano was one of the biggest reasons that this defense played this well in this entire game. I mean, holding 13 points to the Eagles, and I know Eagles have been up and down all season, but you're holding Jalen Hurts to the numbers that you did in the second half. Saquon Barkley was contained on a team like the defense that was not giving up big runs like that. It was an awesome performance by the defense, and they're the only reason that Buffalo had a shot on that 2-point conversion at the end of the game.
Matt in the live chat says this defense won't play that good again, bud. They let it all out in the one game. They aren't built like that. We all know that. Don't forget whose defense it is. Maybe, but this is a post-game show, and they played great. What am I supposed to say? Well, they play good today, but I don't trust that they're ever going to play good when it matters. I don't know, man. This defense has talent, and they've shown signs. The problem has been they've just been so freaking lousy at the beginning of games this season long, and then they get to halftime, and they make adjustments, and they've clamped down in the second half. They've been that way for the most part all season long. I mean, you go to the Houston game, they only gave up 3 points in the second half. They played great against the Bengals. They got 2 turnovers in the second half against the Bengals. They've had lots of games where they've been really good in the second half. They just start out like shit. So if they can find a way to come out of the locker room at the beginning of a game and not play like shit, they're going to be pretty well off. And this is a defense that if they can even come close to resembling what they did today, they might have Ed Oliver back in 2 weeks potentially for a playoff game. Jordan Poyer hopefully will be back for a playoff game. And some of these young guys like Hairston and Walker and Sanders, seems like they're getting a little bit better. You know what I mean? And especially Sanders. I liked what I saw from him today. By the way, Andre Jones Jr. had a nice little game too. Made a couple plays. In fact, Vidarian Mathis had a nice run stop. Again, I got nothing bad to say whatsoever about this defense. They had 11 guys, 13 guys out there, and 13 guys I thought played pretty well. But I forgot about this. I want to go back to the offense. You know what I think part of the problem was today? And I don't know if this is a Joe Brady thing, if this is an O-line thing, being too predictable, just not executing. But the Bills were getting themselves behind the sticks a lot in this football game. Like they were not having success at all on early downs. Like I can't remember more than a handful of plays where the Bills got more than 2.5, 3 yards on first down. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me because we're doing a live show like about an hour or so after this game ended. The Bills had an average of over 9 yards to go on third downs. You're not going to convert a high rate when it's third down and 9 or more a lot of the time. And James Cook, 74 yards today on 20 carries. He only had one run of 10 yards. Yeah, it was tough going on the early downs. And again, that's on both of, like, you're saying Joe Brady is your biggest dud of this game, and I'm saying it's Josh Allen, but we can kind of combine there. It's a little bit of both of them. The Bills just found themselves in a lot of unfavorable circumstances in terms of downs and distance this game.
Yeah, and when they started actually getting, third and short or second and 4, that's when you saw the touchdown drives in the fourth quarter. It was just a little too late for that to finally start working. I don't know if it was just Philly playing further off the line of scrimmage or what it was, but that's when they finally were starting to get some good drives down the field and score some touchdowns. It came down. That was also part of it. It's just, second and 10, second and 15, third and 8. You can't win ball games, especially against a good defense like Philly, when you're setting yourself up for failure. So yeah, I agree. It was a culmination of Allen, missing throws and being off, and then the play calls from Joe Brady that weren't executed well, or maybe, like you mentioned, Josh Allen checking out of those play calls and going with something himself. And I think even Tom Brady mentioned it, where he was shifting the protection a couple drives, and it was the wrong. He pushed him to the wrong side. So yeah, I'm not trying to absolve Josh Allen of all the blame here. I think it's a big culmination of just a what did I call it? A shit smeared sandwich. This offensive game plan was.
Yeah, definitely not their best. Got some good chat going on, by the way. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, even if you're not watching it live, you watch it afterwards. The replay of the chat goes on. There's a lot of good comments in there. I can't get to all of them, but keep it going. There's some really good shit going on there in the comments. Let me ask you this. If we go back to before week 1, let's go back to September. And if I were to say, hey, PK, hey, everybody who's listening to the show, what would you consider the 2 biggest factors to Josh Allen having a successful season throwing the football, the Bills' offense being good this year? Give me your 2 biggest factors for that. What would you arrive at?
It would probably be the number one option, because of everything we heard out of camp, was Keon Coleman takes that next step in his second season. The second one would probably be a healthy Dalton Kincaid in this game. Did I hit both because you're nodding back and forth?
You absolutely did. People would think that I led you on purpose and that I told you ahead of time I was going to ask you that question. I didn't. If we were going back to right before the regular season, and the 2 biggest keys to the Bills having a successful offense beyond just James Cook and running the football, I'm talking about in terms of Josh Allen throwing it, absolutely. Can Keon Coleman build in his second season after what looked like a completely dominant training camp? And I'll even go as far to say the week 1 effort against Baltimore, where he was a beast, man. 8 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown. And you go to Dalton Kincaid. He was mostly healthy during the summer, and the offense just looks better when he's out there. I remember being at training camp for a lot of practices and saying all the throws that Josh Allen puts in the direction of Dalton Kincaid are caught, and it just looks smooth, and it looks effortless. And I don't care if it was linebackers or safeties or nickel corners, Kincaid was beating everybody in routes in camp. So, yeah, Kincaid, Coleman, the 2 biggest keys to the Bills' passing game being a success this year. Here we are in a game that may or may not prove to be costly with the Bills losing, but a game they needed to stay alive in the AFC East, if nothing else. And Dalton Kincaid hurt again. People are starting to call him, I see a lot more of this on social media now, they're calling him Dalton First Aid instead of Dalton Kincaid. I feel bad for the guy. It's just his second straight year where lingering leg injuries, lower body injuries, to use a hockey term, they've hampered him a lot. His performance, his ability to be on the field, to be available for the team. I mean, this is a guy who caught 6 balls for 101 yards against Kansas City earlier this year. He's a playmaker. He's a difference maker. But you can't count on him. And then Keon Coleman, who's just straight up and healthy and active for the 4th time this season now. That is, the first couple discipline and, hey, wake-up calls, growing up kid, those kind of, moments for him. But now it's just straight up, he's not one of the best 5 wide receivers on this football team. It's disappointing. I mean, this is a This is a Brandon Bean sponsored segment right here, PK. Dalton Kincaid not being available, Keon Coleman not being good enough. That's a problem.
Yeah, I don't want to go down the Brandon Bean rabbit hole because I've been
Hmm.
it's a reaction show like you said. But yeah, Keon Coleman, when you're getting beat out by Brandon Cooks, who is a street free agent, Gabe Davis, who's a street free agent, like we were saying, like, yeah, I know camp is just camp, but game one, like you mentioned with the Ravens, like
Yeah,
he looked like a legit superstar, and we were like, okay, this is the Keon Coleman we wanted to see this year, and it's just gone downhill. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but how much of that yardage and those catches, what percentage happened in game one? The rest of the season, like what are those numbers? I want to go back and look at once we get done recording. But yeah,
hmm.
Dalton Kincaid not being able to stay on the field, like yeah, Dawson Knox has had some big catches, but last week he had that massive drop. Like this offense looks
Yeah,
different with Dalton Kincaid in the lineup, and it shouldn't be the way. It shouldn't be this case where you take out one player who's not even a superstar who plays 45% of the snaps and the offense puts up 12 points. Like it shouldn't be relied upon where it's one tight end comes out of the lineup and the offense looks so much worse. But yeah, it's like I think that was a perfect question. Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid, if looking back towards the beginning of the season, if the offense was going to be putting up plus 30 points a game again, I think those two were going to be a big part of it. And we're kind of seeing what happens when, you take the Buffalo Sabres route where you don't really,
sure.
you bank on players to take that next step and it doesn't really happen.
So I am very much known, unfortunately, like I said, and admittedly too, I'm a knee jerk reactor. I am over emotional in the moment, and typically I'll do a live show like these after the game. And if the Bills have lost, or if they won, I get too high. When they lose, I get too low. And then typically you sleep on it Sunday night, you get up Monday, you watch the All 22 back, you go through some stuff, and then you kind of have takes and thoughts that are a little more measured and, less based on just emotion. But again, I don't feel as mad about this loss as I thought I would have when I woke up today. And to put the Josh Allen thing to bed here for this episode at least, I'm going to stick to my guns. I still say Josh Allen blew this game. I still think Josh Allen is the biggest reason why they lost this game. But I could feel that way while still saying that there's not a quarterback in the league that I want to quarterback the Buffalo Bills in the wild card round more than Josh Allen. My trust is not gone with Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen absolutely can put this team, his offense at least, on his back. And if the defense plays even reasonably well, they could go win any game, anywhere, because Josh Allen will be the best player on the field for the duration of the AFC playoffs. I don't care who they're playing, and I don't care where. So I have not lost my faith in Josh Allen. I think maybe the ankle might have played a role, even though he, of course, denies that because that would make it sound like he wasn't taking accountability. And Josh Allen's all about taking accountability. We all know that, one of his most admirable off-field traits. But anyway, I haven't lost any faith in him, PK, but he stunk today. He was lousy, and he, to me, is the biggest reason why, among others, but the biggest reason why the Bills lost this game. That's just what it is. But I'm going to go over these with you and for everybody. I have three positive takeaways right now, three silver linings from this game that I think matter going forward, okay? Number one, this was, again, an absolute championship caliber effort from the defense. If this team has any chance of going on a playoff run on the road, probably entirely on the road at this point, that's the defense they need to see. They might not be quite that dominant and quite that shutdown, but this is a defense that can carry the Bills to a win. If you're going to win 3 games on the road, the offense might not hum for 3 games. The defense might have to play a big role in at least 1 or 2 of those wins. Do you feel similar that this defense's performance today is a silver lining for you going forward?
Yeah, and on top of that, they did it without getting a turnover. Like that's to me
Or
the la
sack. I don't think they had a
or yeah,
sack either.
like this defense has been hanging their head on all season because they've stunk on getting off the field on third down,
Yeah.
is getting that crucial turnover and getting the ball back to the offense. They were able to put out this performance, hold the Eagles to 13 points without causing a turnover. Like that's to me is the biggest statement for this game. And like you said, I'm not expecting this type of performance, this dominant of a performance, especially in the second half, the majority of the playoffs. Like I'm not expecting them to do that. But if you can hold opponents to this and get off the field on occasion on third down and get your ball back to the offense quicker, and hopefully the offense is playing better. But I think this is a defense, if you play this similar style and this effort and this fantastic getting off the field on third down, I do think that this team can win a Super Bowl. I've been very hard in saying that I do not think this team is a Super Bowl contender. I believe that they're going to be a one and done in the playoffs. But if the defense plays like this and you get any semblance of human breathing bodies on offense, this team can make a run through the playoffs because they do have Josh Allen. And like you were mentioning, Josh Allen isn't, he can have bad games, and it's okay for people to admit he had a bad game. Josh Allen goes superhero mode more times than anybody else in this league. And I agree with you. It would be the quarterback that I would pick hands down to lead my organization over and over and over. And I think that's another big reason why I was okay with them going for 2, because they put the ball in the hands of their quarterback rather than rely on a street free agent kicker to make a kick. But yeah, if they get this performance from the defense, even if it's not this dominant, I think they can win a Super Bowl.
I'll say this too, and I think this is important. They didn't play the Brady Cook New York Jets.
Yeah.
They didn't play the Shador Sanders quarterbacked Cleveland Browns. I mean, this is the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. The weather was completely miserable and certainly a factor, but you got Jalen Hurts back there. You got Saquon Barkley. You got A.J. Brown. You got Devontae Smith. You got Dallas Goedert, man. And you got weapons galore. You got a pretty good offensive line. And they've struggled, for parts of this year, but they've been playing well on offense. Saquon Barkley had over 100 yards, 2 of his last 3 games coming in. So, someone in the live chat said, LOL, if I think the defense is going to carry them to the Super Bowl. No, I don't think the defense is going to carry them to a Super Bowl. But I think this defense showed me today and at times throughout the season, especially in second halves, that they're capable of doing the job. Just do the job. Don't give up 35 points. If you're playing the Houston Texans, you're not scoring 30 on Houston. I need my defense to not give up 21 points. You know what I mean? Because you know who you're playing against, and I have a little more faith and I'm a little more comfortable right now believing that I think this defense can do the job. Cody in the live chat, Cody Ben said Oliver back would be huge and throw in a veteran like Judon. I thought about that, and Judon might play next week, but tell you what, Andre Jones Jr. did some pretty decent things out there, man. Not so quite sure you're going to see Judon. It's possible, but I'm not quite so sure that you're going to. So anyway, my first, like I said, bright spot or a silver lining is the defense. Second one, we talked about him a little bit here. Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Four catches for 101 yards, and it would have been plenty more had Josh not thrown, a bad long ball to him when he was open in that second quarter. He's got an open now deep 3 straight games, and the first 2 he dropped a pass. I've been very vocal that I did not like the signing. I thought he should have been inactive last week. He wasn't. I thought he should have been inactive this week. He wasn't. I was wrong. He brings an element to this offense that they don't have because I don't know how or what he's doing special. He's fast, but he's not like, he's not demon speed fast, but he's getting open. He's getting separation, and there's plays there to be made. So if you're looking for, how are they ever going to get the ball down the field if they got to throw to wide receivers? Well, Brandon Cooks is showing you that it's there. So that's another silver lining I have. You feel kind of similar about Cooks right now?
Yeah, and besides the drops, he had been getting open these last few games where Josh Allen was getting in the ball and he was just dropping it. So the feeling of feeling good about him in this offense, I've liked the past few games, even if you take out the drops, because what have we been asking for so long with this offense? You need wide receivers that can separate and get open, and Brandon Cooks fits that role, and he showed it big time in this one. If you can give Josh Allen a reliable pass catcher in the passing game to get open, that's one thing that he hasn't had all season long. So imagine what he can do with a guy that can actually get open, especially down the field. And the contested catches between him and Shavers, like, When was the last time you saw a wide receiver go up and
Mm.
get the ball? That's what you drafted Keon Coleman for. He
On a
hasn't done
Pro
it.
Bowler, too.
Yeah.
Sabres did that on a Pro Bowl corner, man. A damn good one, too.
Yeah, both. Go up and get the ball at the high point, and they did exactly that. I don't remember last time we saw that out of a wide receiver in this offense. It was a nice silver lining to see.
Well, yeah, because again, Brandon Cooks is shown a different element, and at some point, you're going to need that. You know, teams are going to dare you to beat you deep, and he's getting open. So
Curtis Samuel
again,
heated up at the end of last season too, so maybe this is
he
the next
actually, you
one.
know what he did? Didn't he have a touchdown in the AFC Championship
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
Curtis, against Kansas City?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right, he did, man.
Maybe this is the new one.
So anyway, that is another bright spot. And again, he could have had 150
Yeah.
yards today if Josh makes a better throw on that one and a touchdown too. But and by the way, a lot of people are pushing back, not just on this live show, but I've looked at tweets because I, said we were going on the air and the title, Josh Allen blew this game. And people, I will say this, saying Michael Badgley blew this game with the block extra point is fair too. Because if you make the freaking extra point and then you make that extra point and the Bills win. Which, by the way, he called timeout with 5 seconds left because I was like, why the hell did he do that? He did that so that if they got an onside kick, if it came down to winning, he got the ball, they'd at least have a crack at a Hail Mary. But point is, if they would have scored the touchdown at the end of the game with 5 seconds, he would have waited till there was 1 second left to call timeout. It would have been literally the last play of the game if they were going to be able to kick the points, to win the game as opposed to potentially tying it. Anyway, all right, my last silver lining here. With not much to play for anymore, heavily, I would bet that they're going to rest their starters this week against the Jets. Now, for people who got tickets for Highmark Stadium, the last home game, probably the last home game ever there, that kind of sucks. But this team badly needs some rest. I don't care what Josh Allen says about his ankle. That dude needs some rest, man. He'll come out, he'll play the first snap, keep the streak going, yank him off. I don't think you're going to see much of the starters at all. Again, Josh's ankle isn't great, and I think that was a factor in him being off today. I really do. But the division is out of reach. They don't control their own destiny for where they're seated. Like, they could win against the Jets and still finish 7th. They have no control over the seeding. So having to rely on Miami going to New England and upsetting them, that was not likely going to happen. And by the way, the Jets, what a disgrace. That team is an embarrassment. I watched some of that, the first half anyway. They were laying down. I didn't expect them to beat New England, but I expected them to give them some resistance, and they didn't. They just laid down. But anyway, you don't have to worry about that anymore. So the silver lining is you can rest your starters. And for stats, that kind of sucks. Josh is going to fall 1 touchdown short of getting the 40 again. James Cook, right now, oh, God, I got to remember this because I know I remembered it and then I kind of forgot. But James Cook has 44 more yards than Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's probably going to win the rushing title now because he'll play the last week, and I suspect James Cook's going to sit most, if not all, this game. And if that's the case, he's going to finish with 1,606 rushing yards, 3rd most in history. But anyway, him, Dawkins, Grizzou, Bosa, Poyer won't come back. Benford will probably, you know what I'm saying? They're going to sit a lot of starters. So the silver lining is instead of chasing the division or the 5th seed, they're going to have healthier, rested veterans going into the playoffs. And I think that might ultimately be more important than anything else.
Yeah, I agree with you because when you were looking at it, them hoping New England was going to drop one to either the Dolphins or the Jets was such a long shot that imagine that you do win this one. He makes the throw. It's a 2-point conversion. You go in to next week with still the chance to win the AFC East, and you roll out Josh Allen. And New England's up 24-3 at halftime. And Josh Allen steps weird and really hurts that ankle. Your playoffs are done then. So I fully agree. This is a silver lining that the division's out of reach. You can kind of care between the 5th to the 7th seed because it depends on where you're going to go. But as long as you avoid Houston in the first round, I'm okay with really any of the opponents, to be honest. I would probably want to avoid Baltimore, but in the end, you're going to have to go through these guys on the road anyways. So I would rather have all my starters who have been nursing injuries get that extra week of rest going into the playoffs, have that extra week, full 2 weeks of rest going into the playoffs. So I do agree that in a weird way, Josh Allen messing up that throw on the 2-point conversion might be a blessing in disguise. If you're looking at the crystal ball, looking into the future, it might be a blessing in disguise.
Potentially for sure. I land on this. Being the 5th seed would have been nice in a way because if you can escape through the wild card round,
Right.
if you get out of the wild card round,
yep,
there's chance that the Chargers and the Texans could win. And ultimately, you might get a divisional round or hell, even an AFC championship game. If you're the 5 seed, you might end up being at home for that game. It's possible at least. But if you're the 7, obviously that can't happen. Let's do this. One more on the video side, literal 5-second break. I'm going to go over a couple scenarios with you where the Bills stand and how the playoffs are going to look potentially for them. And then we're going to give the Buffalo Sabres some love for the last 5 minutes. 8 in a row, dude. That's been incredible. So like I said, on the video side, literally going to be right back. All right, back here with PK from Buffalo Sports Collective one more time. Paul Walker, you wouldn't know what he's talking about in the live chat, but I do. He says we should send him a glucose monitor. He ate 50 boxes. Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes that I've been
I noticed they
stacking
weren't
up.
behind you this week.
Well, they're all empty.
Oh, I see them now.
Here's the update. So we got December. We're going to be down to the wire here. December, what are we at? December 28th on Sunday. People are going to be listening to this on the 29th. I got 2 more boxes left. So it's only 10. It's only 10 trees because there's only 5 in a box. I had 24 boxes. I'm down to my last 2. I said I was going to eat them before New Year's because then I'm going to start the world's greatest diet. I am going to inspire thousands of people by the resolve that I have, and I'm going to be skinny and I'm going to be handsome, and all the chicks are going to love me this spring and this summer. I'm going to lose a ton of weight. But that's going to start January 1st. So I got 2 more days to eat 2 more boxes of little Debbie's. I said before the break that, chasing the 5 comes at the expense of resting the starters, and I think rest would be more important. I also say a silver lining is because the Pittsburgh Steelers just absolutely gagged today against Pittsburgh. I don't want to go to Baltimore if they're and by the way, I think Baltimore is going to beat Pittsburgh by 20 in Pittsburgh this week. I think it's over for them.
My brother's hoping so. He's got a lot of money on the line.
Does he really?
Yeah. He needs Tampa and Baltimore to win. I think $1,200 or something like that.
By the way, this show's brought to you by Ozempic. No, it's not brought to you by Ozempic. It's brought to you by William Attar, by the way. Anyway, I don't want to play Baltimore because I don't want to play a team that just can run the football. They run the football so well, and Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry. Am I afraid? I'm not afraid of any team. Let me be clear on that because I got accused of that today. I was trying to, what avoids, this was before the Bills played. Who you want to avoid, this and that. And people were accusing me of being afraid of everybody. I'm not afraid of any team the Bills to play, but I have my own preferences, and it's not Baltimore. So anyway, my point was, again, winning this game, and you got to assume New England doesn't lose at home. They beat Miami. You beat the Jets. You're locked into the 5. You're probably going to Baltimore. I don't love that matchup because I just think Baltimore is an experienced playoff team and they can run the ball down your throat. Now, Lamar Jackson's been hurt and he has not been, great in the playoffs. So you could beat Baltimore. I'm not afraid to play them, but it's just not something that I would love to do because they can run the football so well. Houston is a team that's defense is just absurd. I mean, dude, Josh, Mahomes, Herbert, nobody gets to 21 on that defense, man. No matter who the quarterback is, it's crazy how good they are on defense, but their offense sucks, and they can't run the football, so I'm not that afraid of them either. But in terms of playoff scenarios, as things stand right now, the Buffalo Bills are the 7th seed. So if the season ends, if nothing changes next week, the Bills would be going to either Denver or New England in the first round. Denver plays at home against the Chargers on Saturday, I believe. I think it's Saturday. But I know they play the Chargers in Denver. And if Denver wins that game, and they're going to be playing for plenty because they're going to be playing for the 1 seed. They're the 1 seed. So Buffalo going to New England as things stand right now as we record this podcast. That's the way it plays out. If Houston and the Chargers are ahead of they're all tied with 5 losses, but it goes Chargers at Houston and then the Bills. If either Houston loses at home against Indy next week, or the Chargers lose at Denver, which again, Denver has something to play for there. The Bills would be the 6, assuming they beat the Jets, of course, okay? So the Bills beat the Jets. Houston handles their business against Indy, and the Chargers lose on the road at Denver, which I think would be the expectation. The Bills end up being the 6th seed, okay? If both Houston and Houston and the Chargers both lose, but again, that's Indy beating Houston now. But if Houston and the Chargers both lose and the Bills beat the Jets, now the Bills are the 5th seed. Again, assuming they beat the Jets. I don't think that's going to happen. I do not see Houston losing at home to Indy. Unless they said, you know what? We don't give a shit if we're the 5 to 6 to 7. We're going to rest all of our starters. Then that could be in play. Indy could beat them. But if Houston plays to win that game, they're not losing. But maybe they don't. Who knows? But anyway, if Houston and the Chargers both lose, the Bills are the 5. Again, if neither lose, if Houston beats Indy, if the Chargers somehow were to beat Denver, then they'd be the 7th seed. But I don't think the Chargers are going to beat Denver when Denver's got a chance to lock down a bye. Denver's going to be playing to win that game 100%. So my money, PK, is the 6th seed. And again, Denver playing for the 1. Houston against Indy at home. Jacksonville plays Tennessee and Jacksonville to win the division. They're not benching anybody because they got to win that game to lock the division down. That would mean the Buffalo Bills, as the 6th seed, would end up playing on the road in round 1 at Jacksonville. That's the betting favorite, I feel like, for how things play out. Right now, they'd be playing at New England. By the end of next week, I feel like they would be playing at Jacksonville. What do you think between those two teams and those two scenarios?
I think I would lean Jacksonville. I know it's a bit weird with how well Trevor Lawrence has been playing, but if I can avoid Henderson for the Patriots, I would very much appreciate that. He's just so freaking fast. And I know they were able to limit them when they did face Patriots a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was basically 2 long runs from Henderson. I get that. But if I can face Jaguars who seem to, they don't like Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas doesn't like him. If they're able to shut down Jacoby Myers, who's lit up Buffalo, knock, knock, he probably should have went out and got him. But I don't mind the Jaguars as a first opening round matchup just because they got a rookie head coach. Who knows what he's going to act like in the playoffs, because it seems like a lot of first-time head coaches act differently in the playoffs, and maybe Liam Cohen's the exception. I get that. But I think overall, I'd rather face the Jaguars than the Patriots in the first round. So if they can get to the 6th seed, I think that's probably the best spot for them.
If nothing silly happens next week, and again, if you go by the teams expecting to win, you're looking at a first round probably. And again, to me, the one kind of wild card is Houston right now, only because do they play their starters? Because look, they know if they win and Jacksonville loses, they win the division, but they also know that Jacksonville's playing Tennessee at home. They ain't losing to Tennessee at home. That's not going to happen. Tennessee wants a higher pick. Jacksonville's at home to lock down a division. They're going to win that game. So if no funny business, and if Houston decides to play their starters to beat Indy, say they finish the 5, you're looking at a first-round matchup. Potentially, I think anyway, you would have New England hosting the Chargers. You would have Buffalo going to Jacksonville. And you would have Houston going to Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I'll give Pittsburgh the benefit of the doubt and mention them, although I think they're done now. But man, I think Jacksonville's
could be 3 upsets right there.
It could. Nah, I think the Chargers are done. I don't think they're all. I saw Bobby Hart playing left tackle for them this week. I'm like, yeah. I'm not betting on an offensive line that's got, Bobby Hart protecting your blind side right now. Fair. I don't have a lot of faith in the Chargers, which, again, that would have been nice to win the division and potentially get to play the Chargers in the first round, but now that's off the table. Between Baltimore, Jacksonville, or New England, because I do think Denver wins the 1 seed, I think Jacksonville's where I don't love any of those matchups, right? But I do like our chances against Jacksonville, I think, a little bit better because they throw the ball well and the Bills defend the pass pretty well. Like, again, Give me a team that can throw the ball versus a team that can run it down their throats. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it though.
No.
This Bills team, look, we're 17 weeks into the season, and this Bills team is just still an utter enigma because you don't know, man.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get on a game.
I know we say it every year, and it's fair, but every year we say, well, I truly think the Bills could beat anybody in the playoffs. However, I think that any team in the playoffs could beat the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
I truly feel that way right now. With the exception of the Steelers. The Steelers are the only team that might make the playoffs where if the Bills played them, I would have zero confidence that they could beat Buffalo, Pittsburgh. But I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs. But I truly think any team in this division or in this conference could beat the Bills. And it wouldn't surprise me either. I wouldn't even be surprised if any team in the AFC beats the Bills. But I truly, honest to God, would not be surprised if the Bills beat any team in the AFC. Let's say they beat Jacksonville. Now they're to 6 and they just beat the 3. That means they're probably, unless the 7 Chargers went on the road, I don't think that would happen. You're probably going to Denver in the divisional round. And if you can knock them off, who knows after that. But my point is Jacksonville, Denver, and either New England or Baltimore or Houston, one of those 3 teams, I still think the Bills could beat any of those teams. I truly do.
I agree. My only hope is somehow avoid Houston. Like I'm terrified of that defensive line. Like we saw it already, so and I get that Spencer Brown went out with his back or whatever the injury was, and Deion Dawkins was dealing with a concussion. I get that, so that did play a factor into it. But they're just so stinking good. If you can get away and not have to face them, I think that's your best route because I agree with you. They can beat anybody and anybody can beat them. It's one of those seasons. But if there was a team to avoid, to me, it's Houston. That would be their biggest opponent that they would have to. That would be the one that I would go in going, I don't think I give them the edge in this one. As bad as Houston's offense is, their defense can just be a home wrecker. It's that simple. I don't want to face Houston in the playoffs at any cost.
Do you think the Bills are more capable in the playoffs of winning 40-37, or do you think that they're more capable of winning a game 23-20?
Higher scoring. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm saying. And you ain't getting into a shootout with Houston.
Yeah.
The Bills just go on Baltimore, and they've done it plenty of times. I mean, they won, 41-40 earlier this season in week 1? You're not going to get into a 35-31 game against the Houston Texans. That defense is just flat out, it's too good. Now, I'll say this. I said I don't love the Jacksonville matchup, but I like it more than I would like the Houston Texans matchup.
Yeah.
And if you feel the same, then you should be rooting for Jacksonville to beat, again, the Tennessee Titans in Jacksonville. That takes Houston off the table for the Bills, at least anyway, in the first round. So we'll see how it plays out. But like I said, right now the Bills technically are the 7. They could go up to the 5, although that is very, very, very unlikely because the Chargers team that's locked into a wild card would have to go beat the Denver Broncos team on the road that has a chance to win the number 1 seed. So I don't think that's happening. I still say they're going to be the 6th seed. Get ready to get some tickets to Jacksonville, Florida, folks, if you plan on traveling to this football game. Before we get out of here, Buffalo Sabres. Sorry, folks, if you're not a Sabres fan, but it's been a full hour now, so give us 5 minutes here. Bro, the Buffalo Sabres 8 in a row. They beat Boston on Saturday night. I was at Imperial Pizza enjoying a handful of pints, some food, hanging with a couple buddies at the bar, watching the game. I mentioned earlier this week when they beat Ottawa in overtime, I heard a roar from a bar that I have not heard in at least a handful of years with this team, playing well and the fans getting excited about it. The vibes at the bar were great for the game. People were interested and paying attention and locked in and lots of cheering. They gave up the first goal. They win 4-1, and just the crowd, the excitement, and in the arena especially too, obviously, is back. The vibes are there right now. The Sabres suddenly are 19-14-4 at 42 points. As we record this, at least anyway, they'd be tied for a wild card spot. Maybe not by the time people listen. But anyway, they're right there. That's my point. UPL and Lion are both playing good behind the pipes right now. Matthias Samuelson has really stepped up. You and I have beat the shit out of him over the last few years on this podcast. And to be fair, it's been very well deserved, but he's been great. I mean, he really stepped up on Saturday with Darlene out. Josh Norris back. That's been a big boost. The Sabres are, dare I say, interesting and fun to watch. And it almost feels like it's okay for the fans to start coming out of the woodwork and being excited about them.
Yeah, I mean, this is the performances and the effort on the ice that we've been asking for, and the consistency. Like, even if you go and drop a game, if you're putting in this type of effort on the ice, that's all people have been asking for. They're not asking for a playoff run. They're asking for consistent play on the ice of players that look like they actually give a damn and want to play. And this is actually what we're seeing. I absolutely love it. I think we talked about it on the Friday show that we put out. I asked Phil, like, are you back in? Like, where's your gauge? And I think I'm on like the first step of getting back in the pool. Like, it's weird enough that I'm not rooting for them to lose one because I want to see how long this streak goes. But after they drop one, I want to see what their play is the next game. To me, that's going to be the biggest tell, because you can go on this long streak and we've showed, okay, you went on this long streak, but if you drop one, what does your performance look like the next game? Like, if you drop 2, can you get back on a 3-game winning streak? To me, that's the biggest tell. As fun as this 8-game winning streak is, and I know I'm probably sounding pessimistic here, I want to see their resolve and what their play on the ice looks like when something doesn't go their way. That to me is the big tell if they're actually a changed team, which is weird because 8 games before that we were just ragging on them, saying this is still the worst franchise in the history of sports.
I had Joe Yurden on just a couple short weeks ago, and kind of asked him what it's like to cover a team where when you're going to the arena every day and the team's just, they're perennial losers, because that's what they've been. And like the vibe, the atmosphere, like as a journalist, when you cover a team, you don't root for the team. Although I think a lot of people lie and they do root for the team. They're just not outward about it. And that's okay. As long as you cover the team objectively, that's fine. But anyway, just the mood of going into a locker room all the time and dealing with coaches and players when your team, like to be a New York Jets media person right now, having to cover that shit show. It's kind of like that, or it's been like that anyway, with the Buffalo Sabres. What it's been like to go and just have that mood. And now I'm like dying to talk to him again, have him on the show and ask him, hey, what's it like now to go to the arena when the energy's up now and players are enthusiastic about being there and being in their locker room and being on the ice? And Lindy Ruff seems to have a little bit of he doesn't have swag, like literally, but figuratively, coaching with confidence, and the goalies are playing well, and it's probably such a better vibe to be around that team right now. Like, if you're somebody who covers them. By the way, Bandits are up 13-7. Thanks, Tooch, for that in the comment as well. Oh, you'll be talking about
Spoilers.
that.
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry. Well,
no, I'm watching it on the side. I know.
I was going to say, blame Tooch, man. Don't blame Patrick. Blame Tooch for the spoiler there. But anyway, just the energy level, like I said, it's got to be fun. Yarmo, becoming the GM, certainly he's giving his team a lift. I think that's undeniable now. And are you intrigued that this could be a team now that becomes, oh God, do I dare say it? Did it become buyers? Are they going to be like trade deadline or, this winter season buyers in the trade market?
Kind of have to be, right? If they keep this up. I mean, again, even if they don't make the playoffs, as long as they're in the hunt and keep playing like this, I'm back into enjoying watching Sabres hockey, which hasn't been the case in a long time. But yeah, 8-game winning streak is nothing to laugh at. They just can't go out and lose 4 straight after this then.
Agreed 100%. Let me get to a couple comments here as we'll put a wrap up on this show. People are bitching that I didn't get to comments. All right, Steve Buchik said, let's be honest. Would you rather play the Patriots or Ravens? I'd rather play the Patriots. That's from Steven. What would you rather play, the Patriots or the
Patriots.
Ravens?
Yep, Patriots.
Patriots?
Derrick Henry scares the living daylights out of me.
He does. And I just think they're more talented.
Yep.
But what I get away from is just Lamar just is not. Till he proves otherwise, he's mediocre in the playoffs. It is what it is. That said, man, I don't care how good Drake May is. He's great, but I'm not. You know the Patriots. They're not going to surprise you. You're not going to surprise them. It's about execution. I just think the Bills. I'd like the Bills in that spot, and you might see it too. By the way, it very well could
Although
happen.
maybe we could get the Baltimore Ravens that don't give Derrick Henry the ball for the final 11:30 of the game, and maybe that's your
There you
pack
go.
victory.
Yeah, true. All right, let's Greg Presti, before he became the first person to get banned from the chat in probably a half a year, said, let's rename this podcast Excuses Talking Buffalo Podcast. What were we making excuses for? Look, I got thick skin. I embrace criticism quite often. Making excuses for what? I feel like I've been pretty damn critical of the team, man. I said I'm getting heat for saying Josh Allen blew this game. What do you mean excuses talking Buffalo? Nobody offered up an excuse. Did you? I don't think I did.
It would also be pretty expensive for you to change all the merchandise and the naming rights. It'd be pretty costly for you to
I'm not
change the
gonna do
name.
all
Yeah,
that shit, man. I just got a couple hoodies printed and stuff. By the way, I didn't realize this. I had some golden sriracha. You ever had these golden
I have
sriracha
not.
Doritos?
No.
They've been on my desk. They're not bad, man. They got a nice little kick to them. I always got food in my shit. I'm such a slob. I'll get to a couple more here, and then we're going to be out. Tooch says, gave up 17 yards defensively in the second half and still couldn't win. I've never seen a team roller coaster like this. Yeah, man. I mean, how do you give up 17 yards? Not for points. 17 yards in the second half. 0 points. And you don't win the game. That is frustrating. Can you imagine if this would have been for all the marbles? Like, can you imagine if New England had lost to the Jets today and the Bills had a chance to take this division essentially by winning this game, and they played like this on offense and they lost? We're fighting silver linings. Imagine if there was no silver linings, though. PK, this would really suck, man, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you got 13 seconds. This would be 17 yards. That would be the name of this game.
John Anders says 1-3 in alternate uniforms this year.
I saw this going around too. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not wear the red anymore. Shane, my son, hated it. I kind of like the red. As long as you just do it once a year. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think that's why the Bills lost this game. Diamond Pickles said McDermott doesn't want to get into a shootout. He wants to play like it's the 1970s, 50 tight ends on the field, run the ball 40 times. I mean, maybe. Maybe.
I've seen it times, but then you look at the game last week where, he went for it and it paid off. So there's been times where I do think that in the end, he wants to play games that are, 21-18. I do think that's what he wants to do, but I also think he wants to have that fastball in his back pocket that he can win 45, 41 point games.
Yeah, look, man, he might be an old school coach, I feel like, and he definitely wants his team to be led by defense. There's no question about that. But I mean, like the call or not, I don't know how you can't say it wasn't ballsy to go win the game at the end. I'm torn between calling it ballsy or reckless. Now, if it worked, I wouldn't even be thinking of that, I'm sure. But ballsy because you felt confident to win the game, or reckless because, again, your defense was just... But this kind of goes against what we're talking about. He loves his defense, and they plays great. And instead of saying, hey, man, we're going to stop you in overtime, I truly, truly, truly think, the more I think about it, like from minute one to now of this show, I truly think it was more Sean McDermott did not trust Michael Bagley to make that extra point than it was, hey, let's go try to win the game right here and be heroes. I think it was more that as this podcast has went on.
I agree. I think it was the kicker. That was the big reason.
Yeah, me too. Steve Noble says, tough to score 40 points when your bread and butter is a tunnel screen when you do not know what the hell to call. Yo, I'm about done with those screen plays, man. I really am. Yeah, I really don't have much to add to that. It is frustrating, but again, twice Brandon Cooks is open downfield. Shavers makes a good play down the field. The offense was opened up. But it also comes at a price. It feels like, PK, they open up the offense. It's a little more, or less predictable, big play potential, a couple of big plays. But the YOLO Josh comes out, and the safe, take what the defense gives you, live to fight another play. Let's methodically beat this team, and we'll get a lot of points doing it. That kind of goes out the window when you're taking these downfield shots and being, crazy too, as well. So
Yeah, when you don't put up points for 55 minutes, Josh gets a little impatient.
exactly. Popcorn Pam, nice name. I like that. I would have gone for overtime because each team gets to possess the ball. Well, I've said at the very beginning of the show, and I'm going to stick to my guns. PK liked the call. I didn't. However, PK was right and I was wrong because the play was there. It just, you didn't execute it. Josh Allen made a poor throw, and that's just what it is. Chooch says Sabres will win more playoff games this year. Yes or no? I think what he's trying to say is who's going to win more playoff games this year, the Sabres or the Bills? It's a fun question. What do you got?
I'm hoping he means 2026. Just nitpicking there. But yeah, Bills, 1.
Okay. One. Yeah. Look, the Bills are in the playoffs. The Sabres are still, even after this 8-game winning streak, I think I saw a puck luck or something like that. They're 40% right now to make it. But again, it's just about them being in the race and having fun. Richard Rush, 48-41. Sabres are hotter than the Bills at the moment. Yes, man, they absolutely are. And I don't hate it. I don't hate it as much as, I thought I would because, again, the Bills, I've used the word enigma early, and I still feel that way. I don't know what I'm going to get from the Bills. And am I getting a little bit numb maybe to them not winning? I don't know. Like if the Bills lose, let me ask you this real quick, PK, and everybody listening. If the Bills lose to Jacksonville in the first round or whoever they play, how long do you think it's going to sit with you? Is it going to eat away at you? Do you think like other years? Are you kind of at the point where it's like, I really didn't think this was a championship team to begin with this year?
Yeah, the latter, because I've said they were, even before the season, I think I said a one and done in the playoffs. So it just, I didn't like the talent going into this offense this season. The biggest thing that just a big knock is you're wasting another year of Josh Allen's prime where they don't get it done. Like I think it's gonna, if they do go one and done, I think the bigger conversation is going to be how many more years do you have of Josh Allen to get this done, rather than okay, you're a one and done in the playoffs. What's going to be the consequences of it?
Let me read something very late in the podcast that could be very significant that I missed. Somebody in the chat mentioned it earlier. I didn't know if it was accurate, so I don't think I made any mention of it. But now I'm reading it. It's from Elena Getzenberg from ESPN. She said that during the postgame, Sean McDermott said that defensive tackle Ed Oliver is moving in a good direction, but suffered a bit of a setback with his recovery this week. Had previously said he wouldn't be back into the playoffs at the earliest. No further information right now. So maybe that's something. Maybe that's nothing. But Ed Oliver suffered, per Sean McDermott, at least he said suffered a bit of a setback with his recovery this week. So obviously that's not great. If you're hoping to get him back for the wild card round, that might be a little overly optimistic at this point, although I don't know. So I don't want to speculate either, but I'm just putting out there that Sean said suffered a little bit of a setback. Let's get to one more comment here. Diamond Pickle says, by the way, Pat, did you watch Joshua knock out Jake Paul? I might be the only boxing fan in this chat. Well, I am a boxing fan, or at least I certainly was. PK just raised his hand. So
not a boxing, but I did see it. I'm ashamed that I did watch it.
Yeah, I guess my only take on that fight was the thing that bothers me are people who, for the most part, are probably not real boxing fans, if at all, the casuals. And Jake Paul's brought in a lot of casual fans. He's been great for the sport in terms of business. I'll give him that, money, interest, people watching, things like that. But for boxing itself, it's been kind of a circus as far as I'm concerned. But what annoyed me the most were people saying, well, I can't believe he lasted 6 rounds. He put up a much better performance than anyone thought he was going to, this and that. Well, he fucking ran for the majority of 6 rounds. He was circling. He was running. He would throw one punch and then wrestle and tie up. I think he had like 13 attempted takedowns. He was on his knees for half the fight. And I likened it. And then I think in the 5th round, Joshua started to get really annoyed. And I likened it to a cat who plays with its food. And then ultimately, it's done playing with its food. Like Anthony Joshua played with Jake Paul. He played with his food. And then he said, all right, enough of this shit. I'm going to knock him into oblivion. And He broke his jaw in 2 spots. You know what I mean? I give Jake credit, or if I give Jake Paul credit for anything, PK, it's that he took the fight knowing that if he were to get knocked out senseless, which he did, that this early in his career, that I think he's going to lose some fans who aren't going to take him as serious. They're never going to consider him a real fighter. I think the thought process was, I'm going to take out a big heavyweight. I got nothing to lose. I give him credit for that mindset to be willing to get knocked out, but that's it. I don't give him credit for anything in the fight. He ran like a little bitch. He wrestled. He tackled. No. So I don't know. What did you think real quick as we get out?
I'll give him credit for getting in the ring and knowing that was the likely outcome. But the biggest thing is after he got hit and he went to the mat, his first thought was just going, wow. Like, why is that your first reaction? Just going, wow. Like that would not have crossed my mind. I just would have went to sleep and hoped it was over.
Yeah. The Green Lights channel, 4332. If you're a real boxing fan, you know Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, best fights ever. You know what, buddy? I actually agree. I watched all those fights. There's a documentary about him on HBO. It was out a long time ago, and Jim Lampley actually started crying when he was talking about the fights, just because it was just incredible shit. But anyway, all right, let's put a wrap on this. Again, the Bills lose. They're the 7th seed right now. The AFC East is out. None of that is good. But the upside is I think this team's going to get an opportunity to get some rest, get some players healthier. You don't got to try to rush Jordan Poyer back. Josh Allen doesn't have to play 60 minutes on that ankle next week. I'm sure there's lots of other guys with bumps and bruises. Dalton Kincaid, obviously, will give him an extra week now heading into the playoffs. So, in a way, although the Bills are probably going to be the 6 or the 7 seed, this is it's kind of a bye week coming up here at Highmark Stadium. One last thing I will say, though, if they do play and they don't play any starters and they do lose to the Jets, then they would definitely be the 7th seed, just so that's out there too. And then you're almost certainly going to New England, which again, I don't hate that. So I'm okay if they lose next week too as well. But like I said, rest and getting these guys healthy, I think in a way this loss was actually a blessing in disguise. Yeah? You kind of you're at least semi on the same page with me, right?
Yeah. I avoid that whoever's in that 4th seed, unless it's Pittsburgh. Then I would be very upset that you didn't get the 5th seed. But I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be Pittsburgh. So, avoid.
Yeah, all right, buddy. Well, make sure everybody you're following PK. And again, I know PK's not on here all the time, but I'm telling you right now, Buffalo Sports Collective is one of the great Buffalo sports podcasts out there, and they cover a lot of things. They do it exceptionally well. Bills, Sabres, and again, especially if you're a Bandits fan. I know there's some people, you're not usually on a Monday show with me, so there's some people I'm sure who are listening to you for the first time, man. Quickly, on your way out, just tell people a little bit about the show, when it's available, and where they can find it.
Yeah, in season, so it's whenever Bandits are playing. We're Monday and Friday. I've been getting a guest on that covers the team that's next on the Bandits schedule. That is out every Wednesday. Phil writes his articles for the Bandits every Tuesday. Mm-hmm. We got some fun games where you can participate in picking who you think is going to win that week. It's pretty much it's a Bandits-centered show. And we're year-round. We're the only Buffalo Bandits podcast that goes year-round. There's other ones out there. But get down to the arena. It's a fun time. And anybody that I've ever brought to a Bandits game has had a great time. It's not a waste of money. It's not very expensive. And you're going to see some actual very fun products on the ice that knows how to win a championship. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're looking at the screen on the video side anyway, it's at PK_BSC. Hit that pause button, go on your Twitter app and find him and give him a follow on there. Thank you very much to PK. Thank you to nearly 1,100 people here who've flown in throughout the course of this live show to watch and to listen to us. Thank you to Craig, who became the first person to get banned in 6 months on the show. I appreciate all you guys. I'll be back. We'll be having a Bills takeaway episode, basically kind of like that tomorrow after watching the film and all that other bullshit. But anyway, thank you very much. Have a good one. Talk to you guys tomorrow.